Breaking, they found her fingerprints all over it. Trump's ready for war. Time to drain the swamp by Sassy Liberty for FreedomDaily.com. As we go further down the rabbit hole of deception, it looks more and more as though the entire basis of the investigation into the Trump campaign's so-called Russian ties was based on little more than fabrication and falsified documents. In short, it is a political hit job carried out by the Democratic National Committee and the Hillary Clinton campaign in a quest for power and world domination. Naturally, Hillary is right at the center of the deception and controversy in this massive bid for power against the will of the American people. Her campaign's fingerprints are on at least 3 separate pieces of information fed to the FBI, including the Christopher Steele dossier. A dossier that many Republicans claim formed the foundation for a judge to grant a FISA warrant, allowing the Federal Bureau of Investigations to spy on the Trump campaign associate Carter Page. It has now been confirmed on the record as of Thursday by a former State Department official that associates of Hillary and her campaign were funneling information to Steele while he was compiling a dossier. The same dossier commission bought and paid for by Hillary. Why, say the DNC, Hillary Clinton, all in a subversive disinformation effort? The revelations just continue to pile on, each one more damning than the last, as this follows the recent revelations that a top Department of Justice official fed the FBI information compiled by his wife, who just happened to be working for Fusion GPS, Nellie Orr. The very same firm was being paid to compile dirt on the Trump campaign while being paid by both the Clintons, their lackeys, and the DNC. The dossier was quoted extensively in the FBI's application for a FISA warrant in their concerted effort to spy on the Trump campaign, according to the recent memo released by the Republicans on the House Intelligence Committee. A January letter to the FBI further revealed 2 Senate Republicans also confirmed that Steele's now infamous dossier formed a significant, why don't they just say all of it, significant portion of the warrant application. The letter from Senators Chuck Grassley, who chairs the Judiciary Committee, and Lindsey Graham was made public earlier this week. Grassley stated in the letter, it is troubling enough that the Clinton campaign funded Mr. Steele's work, but that these Clinton associates were contemporaneously feeding Mr. Steele allegations raises additional concerns about his credibility, you think? The Federalist compiled a list, when taken in its entirety, forms what we know so far about the extent of Hillary's involvement in the FBI's Russia collusion case. 1. Clinton ally Sidney Blumenthal funneled information to the FBI through a contact at the State Department. In an account published by the Washington Post, former State Department official Jonathan Weiner described how research compiled by a Clinton ally made its way into the hands and then into his hands and then to the FBI. Weiner was in charge of combating transnational organized crime at the State Department under Bill Clinton in the 1990s and returned under the Obama administration to work on international law enforcement. Between his 2 gigs, he became friends with Steele, who as a result began feeding information to the State Department and tipped Weiner off in September 2016 to the Trump dossier he was compiling. That same month, Weiner met Blumenthal, who provided him with notes on Trump and Russia compiled by another Clinton insider, Cody Shearer. What struck me was how some of the material echoed Steele's but appeared to involve different sources. Weiner writes in the Washington Post he decided to show the notes to Steele, who told him the information could be used to corroborate his dossier. Steele walked away with a copy of the notes, which he provided to the FBI. Shearer and Blumenthal, known respectively as Mr. Fixer and Vicious Sid, in Clinton's world, are staunch allies of the Clintons. Weiner notes he didn't know whether the information Blumenthal fed him was accurate, but says he fed it to Steele anyway because he was alarmed at Russia's role in the 2016 election. Yeah, right. Grassley and Graham expressed concerns in their criminal referral that Steele was vulnerable to manipulation. Really. While compiling his dossier on Trump, as he has admitted to meeting with at least 4 different news outlets during that time in violation of an agreement he had with the FBI, and indicated he received unsolicited and unverified tips on Trump and included them in his dossier. Simply put, the more people who contemporaneously knew that Mr. Steele was compiling his dossier, the more likely it was vulnerable to manipulation, they wrote in their letter. You think? Of course, the Clinton network knew to some extent. Of course, the Clinton network did all of this, set it up like this, about the dossier, since Hillary's campaign and the DNC had commissioned and funded the effort through Fusion GPS. I don't even know why they use that, that terminology even in the, when they speak about it in other articles. The same thing. Clinton paid for this done, but she didn't want to be, held accountable for any of this. So she had her cronies do the work for her. You see what I'm saying? What do you mean, the Fusion GPS? Are you kidding me? The guy was paid by Hillary. Forget about it. Whether in cash or whatever. It's an inside job. They were all involved in this. So, getting back, of course, the Clinton network, meaning Hillary, knew everything about the dossier, since Hillary's campaign commissioned and funneled the effort through Fusion GPS. Whether Blumenthal was planting bogus information to manipulate Steele or passing along what he regarded as a legitimate tip is unclear. It's still unclear to these people, right? But it certainly doesn't look good, I mean, you're kidding me? Anyway, regardless, this second unverified and unsolicited dossier made its way to the FBI thanks to the Clinton camp. No, thanks to Hillary Clinton. And all the cronies made sure that this would go to the FBI. Anyway, number 2, Steele was at the same time compiling a dossier paid for by the Clintons. Notice? As noted, Steele was already well into work on a dossier paid for by the Clinton campaign and DNC regarding Trump-Russia ties when Weiner approached him. Perkins Coie, law firm representing the Clinton campaign and the DNC, had hired Fusion GPS. So in other words, Perkins Coie represents the Clintons, but they took it upon themselves to hire Fusion. So who's paying for this, right? If Hillary didn't pay for this, why would the law firm's going to pay for it out of their pocket? You see what I'm saying? Do you know anybody that's going to pay for your work? No. So why don't they just say, Hillary used Perkins Coie not to show up, but you couldn't otherwise because that was her attorneys there. So they hired Fusion GPS, but Clinton paid for everything to dig up opposition research on Trump to the election. Fusion in turn employed Steele, a former British spy, to compile the dossier. His work was entirely funded by Hillary. The FBI was never able to verify the salacious claims in Steele's dossier, so relied heavily on his reputation to infuse the document with credibility before the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court. According to the Republican memo and criminal referral, the Bureau continued to vouch for him before the court in subsequent applications to renew the warrant, even after learning he was desperate to stop Trump. Yeah, because he was going to get paid more money had he stopped Trump. He could care less. He was getting money from Clinton. What do you mean he just hated Trump? That's not the point. He was getting paid to make sure that Trump would be taken down with this. And if it happened, he'd get more money from Hillary. Come on. Then Trump from getting elected, yeah, right. Okay, and broken the Bureau's trust by dishing to the press in one case and potentially lied to the Bureau, right? In several other instances, a criminal offense. The court learned none of this and continued to grant the FBI permission to spy on a U.S. citizen based in part on Steele's research. Another crock. The judge was an Obama appointee. The judge knew about this, but yeah, they got to make it legal. So they had a little footnote, but the judge supposedly didn't see it. The judge was in on it, that's why he stepped down. Come on. Come on. You know, this is like a whole big runaround. Anyway, number 3, a top DOJ official fed the FBI research on Trump from his wife, also paid for by the Clinton camp. No, paid for by Hillary Clinton herself. The third piece of information provided to the FBI connection with Clinton allies is research compiled by the wife of former senior Justice Department official Bruce Ohr, who worked closely with Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates and her replacement Rod Rosenstein. Ohr was also a friend of Steele. Ohr's wife was employed by Fusion GPS to help compile opposition research on Trump, according to the Republican memo. Ohr eventually turned over all of the information she compiled while working ultimately for the Clinton campaign and the DNC to the FBI. It's unclear whether this information made it into the FISA application. You think it didn't? You think it didn't? But it's one more example of evidence received by the FBI that can be traced back to the Hillary Clinton. According to the Republican memo, the FISA court was never informed of the Ohr's connection to Fusion GPS and Steele. No, because they had to make it look good. They couldn't say that Ohr was involved. No. That's why the judge was in their pocket. Come on. Come on. The judge knew all of this. But, you know, he was being paid off, and he was an Obama appointee. In sum, to obtain a warrant to spy on a Trump campaign associate, the FBI relied heavily on a dossier that was never substantiated, put together by a former spy, desperate to stop Trump. That dossier was paid for by powerful Democrats on Trump's rival campaign, who also paid for opposition research the FBI received from a powerful couple inside President Obama's DOJ. Separately, 2 Clinton allies worked together to funnel a second unsubstantiated dossier to the FBI through the State Department. No, they were all in on it, and Hillary paid for all of it because she was desperate to be president. But the other people wanted to continue their corruption. That's why they were helping her. Not because they liked Hillary. Believe you me, nobody likes Hillary. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.